The Grove is a historic mansion in Titusville, PA from the early 1900s, so the oil boom. I'm super excited to be restoring this mansion, really honoring the historic details and also modernizing it. Obviously, we need a functioning kitchen and bathrooms, and the best part is that we get to share this with the public. So it will be a bed and breakfast and event venue. It used to be a residential home. It was not open to the public, but now we're willing and able to share this project with the masses, and we can't wait for people to check it out. It was really important for us during this process, myself and the clients, to really honor the home. And so we didn't paint any woodworking that wasn't already painted. So we have this beautiful paneling in the entryway that greets you as you walk in the door. There are solid wood floors, so oak floors that were throughout the home underneath this drab and dirty carpet. So we ripped up all of the carpet, all of the flooring from the first floor to the third floor is completely refinished. It looks absolutely beautiful. And it's these kind of details that really take the home back to its original beauty, instead of kind of those updates that people did in the 70s to really kind of take away some of those details. We're really bringing life and breath back into the house. This project for me is really kind of a masterclass in layering. So not only do we have the refinished wood floors, you kind of have to think of a room in terms of like a layer cake, where you have the first plane, which is the flooring, then you have the area rugs, and then what sits on top of the area rugs. And so not only are we really taking the time to make sure the furniture details in terms of the profile of the arm or the wood finish of the leg, do we add nail heads, do we add trim? These are the details that you can totally get bogged down in, but are really fun to really bring a space to life. So we have the library here, and funny enough, the library started out as a living room, but we actually discovered that there were some built-ins in the house that were moved on from the second floor, and they were split up. So we've discovered that based on the original floor plans, all of those built-ins were along the walls of the library. So we are now reverting it back to the library and adding in these built-ins. And this beautiful blue velvet fabric here is a commercial fabric, believe it or not. Does not look like one. And this fabric is going on 2 of the reclaimed sofas that we sourced. And so they have these beautiful clawfoot wood details on the base. And then our reupholsterer has completely reimagined them because they used to be horsehair and burlap, which is crazy. They're very, very old. So super excited to bring those to life and have people sit in them again. Wallpaper in this room is this kind of shimmery slate blue paper. This is a little bit more modern. This is probably one of the more modern choices that we have in the house, but it is paired with this really beautiful drapery fabric that has a lot of relief and kind of big details on it that have the slate blues and these really beautiful golden brown tones. And so really this laying on top of this wallpaper will just be super luxurious and layered. And so there was a few times where I have just spent hours looking at pillow sizes and types and adding trim details because this is really what makes a space feel luxurious and high-end, but also lived in. A lot of times the spaces that are super modern or minimal, they don't feel as lived in or as comfortable as a space that has the pillows with the trim and the drapery and, kind of the extra stuff that really makes a space feel comfy and cozy. You might not be able to put your finger on it, but it's all of these elements in the room working together to make a space, something that's a true experience. When sourcing for the project, we found this place in Pittsburgh, so Nowak Lighting. It is no longer open at this point, but they had some beautiful chandeliers and pieces that were original, so they weren't necessarily reproductions either. And we sourced a handful, probably at least 8 chandeliers for this home. And so instead of finding, more modern light fixtures, it was really important to us to kind of honor the past and find different historic pieces to add back in. And these chandeliers they were rewired, they were cleaned up, and now they just sparkle. It reminds me of like a Cinderella movie. I cannot wait to have people kind of fall in love with this property and this house and each room all over again. Additionally, we also thrifted and antiqued some pieces of furniture. And so instead of buying new pieces, which we have done, but for some of the pieces, we actually decided to reupholster them and really dive into all of those details. So the fabric is a commercial grade velvet, so it looks like a residential fabric, But the importance is that it's going to last for years, especially because this is more of a commercial hospitality space. It is important that these fabrics really stay true to the test of time and the use that they're going to be getting. And so this commercial velvet is 100,000 double rubs for those of you who know what I'm talking about, but super durable, and it looks absolutely beautiful and very luxurious. And so we use those fabrics a lot throughout the house, paired with these really finely detailed trims to really kind of elevate each piece and make sure that we're really layering the spaces so it feels timeless. As we know, in any project, the kitchen is truly the heart of the home, and the case is no difference with the Grove. We've been working with Fairfield Custom Kitchens on the cabinetry, and it's been such an honor to honestly work with them. I did not know them prior to this job. We were both brought on separately, but since have worked on a handful of smaller projects together, and I really enjoy their attention to detail. And the Grove is kind of one of those places that needs so much attention to detail and these kind of classic and timeless features that you might not really think of. So Fairfield went the extra mile, and the kitchen island, for example, the legs on the kitchen island mimic the newel post of the original staircase as you walk into the home. And so not only did they kind of mimic these details, it makes the kitchen feel like it's always been there, even though it is more of an open concept. There is basically a 12-foot island in the middle of the kitchen. Obviously, an early 1900s home would not have had these details, but it was important for us to really nail down these pieces so that it feels really natural and organic as you walk through the space. In the kitchen, we have a lot of cabinetry that is kind of more of this charcoal color that has some warmth to it, obviously with the brass inlay. And this is going to be the wallpaper on the walls. This is going to be a sofa that's reupholstered in the corner, kind of like a corner banquette area. And this is from my custom furniture company in North Carolina, and we have all of the different wood finishes. And so a lot of details go into the counter stools in the kitchen that all go around the island. And so not only am I picking the wood feet on these counter stools, but I also need to pick the nail head finish and the fabric finish. So you can imagine in a house that's 3 stories tall with furniture on every floor, how many details go into kind of these custom furniture pieces. And so again, really taking note of the finishes in this home, the existing and original paneling, and bringing that into other spaces so that everything feels really cohesive. The tile in this house I'm really excited for because it is Art Deco. So there are a lot of pieces that maybe lean a little bit more contemporary. They're not necessarily the early 1900s Tudor style, but they still make sense in the grander scheme of things. And so a lot of the bathrooms have a very geometric floor tile. And then we went the extra mile in the marble showers to add a pencil line detail so that we really have these timeless details throughout the space. But again, they kind of add to the experience. When you go in and you're in your robe and your slippers and you're going to take a shower, you know, you want this kind of resort-like experience, and to have that feel, you need these extra details. One of the spaces I am most excited for is what we are calling the McKinney bedroom. So one of the fun things we did is on the second floor, there's a couple different bedrooms, and we've named each space after a previous owner who lived there before. Again, it's our way of honoring the past and then also pushing towards the future. The back bedroom in the second floor is called the Magnolia Suite. And so there are a couple magnolia, or at least a handful of magnolia trees on the property. And the magnolia is also the logo for the Grove. So again, kind of weaving in these details in the marketing and the media every chance we get to really help showcase the story of this historic and beautiful home. And so the McKinney bedroom is my absolute favorite because it has a beautiful mural that wraps all of the walls. Me and the clients worked very hard to figure out if this mural would go around the whole room or if it would just be an accent wall. And one of the things I really advocated for was having this be an immersive experience, and the clients were on board. So this room is an immersive experience. It's moody, it's dark, it's luxurious, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give it away until you guys can see it in person, but it is just this opulent feeling of velvets and teals and these kind of natural materials that are really going to kind of transport you into kind of a high-end luxury resort or even a high-end hotel. I want people to feel like they walked into a historic hotel in New York City and they're really experiencing this space for the first time. And Titusville doesn't have anything like this. Obviously, Titusville is a small town. I grew up here, and we don't have anything that is this kind of level of class in terms of finishes and textures and hardware. I mean, this home is a historic masterpiece, and I've been so grateful and honored to be a part of this journey. Where we're at right now with the Grove is ordering. So I am nailing down all of these little nitty-gritty details, pricing them, and then making sure we can order them and actually install them in the home. So not only is design about picking the chair fabric or picking the chair, picking the coffee table, the selection process is huge, but if you don't have the ordering and the admin process after that, a project will never be finished. And so right after we design everything and get client approval, then we get everything on an invoice and we start ordering. And now we're kind of in that stage of ordering. There's lead time. Some things are 12 weeks out, 8 to 10 weeks. Good things take time is what I have to tell myself. And yeah, I'm super excited for install when that does happen. We're a few months out for sure. But as these details start coming together, is really what brings the project to life. You know, so far we've been having the walls down to the studs, there was still carpeting on the floors, and now we're really stepping into this next chapter of the home where the floors are refinished, you know, the wallpaper is gonna start going in a few weeks, and so the house gets cleaned up. It doesn't feel as much of a construction zone as it once was, and now you can really start seeing how the space will be used and seeing where these design elements come in. So right now, in the nitty-gritty ordering process, there are hundreds of items that are going into this house, and we got to make sure we get every single one of them.